Before we begin, this review goes out to some big supporters. I'll leave a link to all their YouTube channels and Twitter accounts down below if you want to check them out. Now, on to the review. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of Ubisoft's very first horror releases, Cold Fear. Published by Ubisoft, the development was handled by a smaller, now defunct company by the name of Darkworks. They worked only on a few games: Alone in the Dark: The New Nightmare, this game, Cold Fear, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, and another game, I Am Alive. Cold Fear was released just 2 months after Resident Evil 4 back in 2005. This caused the game to be looked over by many as a Resident Evil cash-in. I can see why critics would make comparisons like that, but I really think Cold Fear has a few interesting ideas and concepts all by itself. But were they executed properly? Let's dive in and find out. If you're not a fan of spoilers, go play the game first, if you don't want anything ruined. If not, just know that I'll be discussing some main plot points. Cold Fear's story opens up on the Bering Strait off the coast of Alaska, with a Navy SEAL team landing in the middle of a storm on a Russian whaling ship known as the Eastern Spirit. The team doesn't get very far before they're ripped apart by some unseen force. This must have been the B team from the Wetwork insertion from Call of Duty. The agent in charge of the mission sends an order for any other ship in the vicinity to help investigate. The call is picked up by a United States Coast Guard ship, the USCG Ravenwood. As the crew of the Ravenwood board, they're killed off with the exception of Tom Hansen, the player character. As the last surviving member, he wanders around the ship to complete the mission of finding the Navy SEAL team. Along the way, Hansen finds some scared Russian whalers who think Hansen is behind the attacks. He locates a Navy SEAL who's been mutilated and is attacked by one of the crew that's been infected with a parasitic creature known as Exocell. The Exocell takes over a host and turns them into a bloodthirsty killing machine. A pretty cool feature is they can't be killed unless you destroy the head. You can stomp on them or you can get a good headshot. Back to Hansen. He finds a radio room and radios for help. He receives a response from Bennett, the agent in charge of the SEAL mission. Bennett tells him there's a man by the name of Yusupov still on board the ship. He needs Hansen to locate and detain him. He locates Yusupov and he proceeds to explain what's going on. He brought Victor's daughter, Anna Kamsky, to the Star of Sakhalin, an oil rig that's in the middle of the sea. He blackmailed him into turning the exocells into BOWs. The ship had been on the way back with new specimens when the outbreak occurred. Well, Hansen has no time to ask questions before Yusupov is killed when an exocell bursts from his chest. Hansen eventually locates Anna, and after a little hesitation, she agrees to help him. They radio the and set course towards it. Bennett warns Hansen that there's a jamming device on board the rig, and he won't be able to contact him until that's taken care of.
Get off that rig as if I help you, and I can't help you unless I can talk to you. So once you get on board, you smash that jammer. You got it?
Sorry, you're breaking up. I can't hear you.
Hansen! Hansen!
Just kidding. Smash the jammer. Got it.
With the seas being too strong, they're forced to jump from the crow's nest of the ship onto the rig. Hansen makes it, but Anna falls in the water. While Hansen's unconscious, he's infected by an exocell. When he wakens, he stumbles around and finds Dr. Bakarev, who administers a vaccine to Hansen, curing him. Bakarev tells him how to disable the jamming device, but is killed after he's pulled into an air vent by an unseen monster. Hansen makes his way to the jamming device, allowing Bennett to finally have contact again and give him further instructions. He wants Hansen to transmit the exocell vaccine and other data off of Victor Kamsky's laptop. While searching for the laptop, Hansen finds Anna on some security monitors and watches she is infected with the exocell. He rushes to find the cure, but in the process gets knocked unconscious and becomes infected again. What a clumsy guy.
Oh, baby.
He locates the cure and gives it to Anna and passes out. When he wakes, Anna is nowhere to be found. So Hansen makes a deal with Bennett that if he transmits the data, he will get Anna off the rig safely. When Hansen finds out that Bennett wanted more data than he asked for, Hansen tells him pretty much where to shove it, and tells him to come get it himself, and ends contact with Bennett. He then asks Anna about blowing up the rig and escaping, ending the nightmare. She says there's a helicopter on the roof that they can use after they plant some C4. After he plants the C4, they meet up on the roof to find Anna's father, Victor Kamsky, fully transformed into a giant exocell.
Where do you think you're going with my daughter?
Hansen distracts Victor long enough for Anna to plant the C4 on the final pillars. He kinda looks like the newborn from Alien Resurrection. Just a little bit. Hansen eventually defeats Victor in a really frustrating boss battle, and they escape in the helicopter, blowing up the rig as they fly away. It's a really shitty ending.
Hurry! Get in!
Let's get out of here. It's all right. I'll take care of this.
Papa, I'm sorry.
Goodbye, Papa.
So let's get to the gripes. The gripes I have for Cold Fear are the clunky controls, the poor camera angles, the lack of an in-game mini-map. There's one in the manual, but that doesn't really help me because I beat the game and then looked in the manual. Yeah. And the characters felt really bland. They were just boring, and I didn't really connect with them at all. Hansen acts like he doesn't even really care what's going on, almost like he feels like he isn't really in any danger at all. He does crack a lot of one-liners, which were kind of funny, but it doesn't make up for the awkward dialogue between the characters.
Just wipe it off first.
What I don't understand is how Hansen is infected again, even says that he's choosing to give the vaccine to Anna, but then we never see his outcome. Did she cure him while he was unconscious? When you're infected, your vision is a little blurry, but after you cure Anna and pass out, your vision's fine when you wake up. It just doesn't make sense. They kind of gloss over it. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. I'm still baffled. I feel like Cold Fear would have done a lot better if it was released as a 360 launch title later in the year. It wouldn't have been in the shadow of Resident Evil 4 like it was. That's just my opinion. Some positives I have about Cold Fear are the graphics. From the rain effects to the blood splatter, I almost forgot I was playing an original Xbox game. Just look at these effects when you step from the inside of the ship into the storm. I have to say, they did a really good job. The weapons weren't too bad, with the exception of this flamethrower. It was just garbage. I really liked the shotgun and the MP5. There wasn't a huge variety of enemy types, but I genuinely felt dread when a new exocell was introduced. Some of the enemies you faced were the standard exocells, the Exomutant 1.1, the slightly stronger Exomutant 2.0, the Exocell Infector. They'll pop out of the enemies you kill and slither around unnoticed most of the time. They look a little like Half-Life headcrabs, don't you think? Then we have the Exonest. It produces exocells. My favorite enemy, the Exoshade, is like a dog but can see perfectly in the dark. They're really fast and they take a lot of damage. This was my favorite enemy because it was really challenging when I was first introduced to it. Next is the Exomass, a huge failure of an experiment that has a huge club for an arm. They can charge you or stomp the ground, causing you to lose accuracy. And last we have the Exospectre. You can't have a horror game without some sort of invisible enemy. But these guys aren't very hard to find if you have a flashlight. It reveals them, allowing you to end the fight pretty quickly. So, in my overall opinion, if I were to compare Cold Fear to Resident Evil, I think it would be a lot more closer to Resident Evil Dead Aim, which came out 2 years prior. What do you guys think? There are a few similarities, but I'll let you make that call. In the end, Cold Fear had a lot going for it, but I feel it failed to deliver exactly what it was going for. I enjoyed the game for the first half while on the whaling ship. It felt like a real survivor horror game. I was disoriented while wandering the ship and I genuinely enjoyed the exploring. But when I got to the oil rig, I kinda lost interest, mostly because the areas looked really similar to each other and there wasn't a lot of character interaction. The game was also pretty short. I beat the entire game in less than 3 hours. I do, however, recommend a playthrough if you do manage to pick it up. As of this review, it's not currently backwards compatible with the Xbox One, so you'll have to play it on Steam, Xbox, or the 360. If you do try Cold Fear, let me know what you think. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at VG_Vault. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on Cold Fear, and if you have any other suggestions for any games you'd like to see me review in the future. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next review.